young man is pulling on wires and stuff. So.
Cool. It works for me.
Amanda Daisy, okay. ETA on your arrival to 7:16, please.
we can just start with a few questions.
Okay, sure. Let's yeah, I don't want to waste anybody's time, so let's answer what you want to hear.
So I was at your panel yesterday talking about the fifth edition, and you mentioned the new Thundering series.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering how, like, there was a big jump in time between third and fourth. I was wondering how much of a time jump you're looking at.
Almost none.
Okay.
From the dating of the 4th edition books, which I think is 1479, Year of the Aegis one. I think the Sundering Saga starts like 2 years later and covers a short, furious period of time. So no, essentially there's no time break. I hope, as matters stand in planning now. I must emphasize, the 6 Sundering books, none of them have been written yet. And all of the authors have been writing and redrafting possible outlines and handing them to the department, who shares them with all the other authors. And we make sure that these books are going to be linked properly, not, although they are going to star and look over the shoulders of 6 different sets of protagonists, we want to make sure that they are linked together. And Wednesday before Gen Con, we all came a day early, except Bob, who couldn't be there. He had a family emergency. All the rest of us showed up for a day of sitting on our butts in a sort of corporate meeting room with a slide projector and PowerPoint presentations and hot and cold running breakfast and lunch and teleconference things erupting out of the ceiling and all this stuff. It made me feel very corporate. I looked around the room thinking, damn, I have to shave my head, gain 300 pounds, just cram myself into a suit that's too small, and then I'll fit in. But anyway, I don't mean the Wizards people. I meant all the hotel people behind who were striding grandly around in their wingtips as if they were going straight to the golf course. Anyway, and for that day, we actually sat down and planned a lot of other stuff. So everything's in flux. But yes, we know there are going to be 6 books. They're going to take place in chronological order when I get to back clean up the last one. And they will come out for you guys every 2 months. I believe starting August next year and going to August of the year following. Okay, so Gen Con to Gen Con, I believe. But, you know, these plans are, as I said yesterday, carved in quicksand on a stormy beach with the tide coming in. Because one thing, the moment you have more than one thing in a project, you can just watch possible delays, screw-ups, things we didn't foresee coming crashing in. But that's the plan. Questions?
Actually, can I just ask
Yeah.
one quick question?
Yeah.
Do you guys hold like creative summits like they do
Mhm.
like Marvelous?
Oh, yes.
About what you were talking
Yes.
about there?
We had one in November. They flew us all out to Renton for 3 delightful days of 3 days of eating far too much. God, it's great. You can expense meals. They take you to all sorts of wonderful places where they throw raw salmon at you and stuff like that. Oh, it's great. And then of course we go back to the hotel. There's this little place in Renton has this little oasis of airport hotels. And Wizards and a strip club are the only businesses at the end of this row. So we could literally walk diagonally across 2 hotel parking lots and into Wizards. Or into a strip club. They send a guy to lead us into Wizards every day. Okay. So we would go back to the hotel after the restaurant meal and sit around in the lobby, which was, again, one of those businessmen's airport hotels, so they bring you drinks. It's great. Why didn't I become a businessman? Because I hate every minute of it. But there's these drinks are arriving all night. Oh, it's on the house, sir. Here, have a cookie. And they give you a chocolate chip cookie as big as your head. So you sit there hopped up on sugar at 3 in the morning going, and then why don't we hit the center? And oh my goodness, Zastan insane. And then you realize that all the guys on the hotel staff are moving away, reaching to call security. And so, yeah, we had Summit in November. We had a Summit just before Gen Con. We've had some web teleconferences where you turn on your computer and everybody smiles at each other and waves, and we all get to see how untidy we are at home. In the view behind the person, we haven't had anybody show up naked for any of them yet. Yes, so we
Well,
do.
not completely naked.
No.
It's like pants are optional at these things.
Yes, because they're supposed to be hidden below the keyboard. There's a supposed in that, because, people get up to get things. Like,
Bottom shelf.
well, no, like a knife to cut their own throats. But yes, we do meet together one way or another all the time now, because the whole point of this is to improve communications between books and games and with you guys, and respond to what you guys want. So the Sundering is one big RSE. They said not to use this phrase, so I won't use this phrase, an RSE to end all RSEs. The point being is, when we're finished that, we want to tell character-driven stories down at the level of looking over the shoulders of protagonists. No more gods and chosen on stage. And what you guys do in playing the adventures, those of you who give feedback to Wizards henceforth, will determine what happens in Realms history. So if you kill the king, and 70% of you who play that adventure kill the king, then the king dies. If more than 50% of you prop up that throne and save the king lives. And it won't all just be for royalty, it'll be for everything. So the plan is that you guys will become the drivers in the driver's seat. Novelists will still write novels. Drizzt and Elminster will still have adventures, but they will be Drizzt's adventures and Elminster's adventures, not adventures that you get railroaded along with. Okay? That's the plan.
Yeah.
What was
Go ahead.
the most difficult aspect of creating the Forgotten Realms? And do you have any advice for anyone creating their own universe to sort of get over that?
Okay. My advice would have to be tailored on what you want to use the universe for. Because you design it differently depending on what you need it for. If you're going to use it for one story, warp the universe to fit the one story. Have it do what you need it to do for the story. If you want it to be for a game campaign, and you want that game campaign to last a long time, then you build the world with offsetting kingdoms or power groups that interlock and are in a deadlock against each other. There can still be friction between them, and there should be friction between them all the time, but nobody's going to sweep anybody else away. If you're building it to tell stories in, lots of stories, a series of novels, for instance, as opposed to different people writing different novels set in different places in the world, you want lots of unresolved conflicts and mysteries. You want characters that will grab the reader first and foremost, so they care about this and will follow along through it. And you need to have dramatic tensions. To give you a crude example of dramatic tensions, back to the X-Files. And I'm in Australia for 5 weeks, going to conventions and giving publishers thingies and going to bookstores and doing signings. And Wes Nicholson, the gamer, Uncle Wes Nicholson, is driving me around Australia. And each hotel room we get into, he says, oh, gotta check the box. And he runs over and turns on the TV. And I said, why? He says, X-Files is on again. And I said, yeah, you watched X-Files in the last... Yeah, but I got to see if he's bonking her yet. That was a dramatic tension that was kept going to engage the reader's interest, but not resolved until you burn it in the last season. Or you don't burn it at all if you're canceled without warning. But I mean, it's a dramatic tension you don't resolve. So that's why there are sort of 3 different main answers to... Now, how I built the realms? Remember, I was 6 years old. Okay? I liked Fafhrd and Grey Mouser short stories. Little episodes, these 2 rogues. They're very anti-authority, but they're sort of jaunty, happy-go-lucky, jovial, nice guys underneath, But, and they have all these adventures. And when things get too hot for them, they move out of town and have adventures somewhere else. Well, I was thinking of Mert the Moneylender, my character who is a little bit Nicholas Van Ryn from Poul Anderson, a little bit Shakespeare's Falstaff, a little bit Guy Gilpatrick's Glencanon, a wheezing drunkard, fat, can't outrun anybody, bad knees, used to be a good fighter, okay? He can no longer outfight foes, so he has to outwit them. But he ends up going along this place called the Sword Coast, from city to city, a step ahead of creditors and authorities, so I move along the Sword Coast. Okay, that's how I was building the realms. So I built it from what I needed on the Sword Coast, inward, going inland. These are ports. They trade in stuff. That means that they need imports that are lacking in this spot, and they will take, because the ships don't want to travel empty, exports from somewhere else. Inland. So somebody there has to produce it. You start building the world that way. What's in his pockets is, what's in the wagon, what's in the ship's holds. And I built it that way. And only later did I have to worry about game considerations, because Dungeons and Dragons hadn't been invented yet. So I was building it outward. And that, by the way, is the easy way to build a campaign. If you want to start with a dungeon crawl in the classical way, you start with a dungeon and what's above it, as in the village or nearby. Where did the player characters come from? How did they get together? What do they know? What's their background? And you build it, you build the landscape out from that, what you need. Don't tell your players you're doing this. You have to make your players believe you've got a complete detailed world, and they can ride in any direction. And no matter which direction they ride in, the next adventure you set up for them will be right in front of them. But you don't tell them that. You make them feel there's a whole world out there and it's their oyster. Because that way, they are the heroes. They are determining their destinies. Instead of being railroaded with a carrot and a stick and they have no choice. That's sort of like real life. Who wants that? Okay, so that's my long-winded shilly-shallying. Am I close to answering what you needed?
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Okay, yeah. If you need it for fictional purposes, make it fit your fictional purposes, but don't resolve everything. Leave them wanting more. I used to have a rule for the realms when they were designing it. For every loose end that I've created that you close off in a product, like you, the designer, or you, the novel writer, or you, the short story writer, you close off. You have to three more loose ends. Apply one off, three more. I want the world never to end. I want it to be alive. And that's one of the ways of doing it. Keep it alive. You have to make people experiencing the world, whether they're a reader or a player playing a character in D&D, think, if I go to bed like Rip Van Winkle, the world will move on without me. Things will happen when I'm not there. They have to have that feeling. You don't want to oppress them with that feeling. Again, you don't want to give them like real life. I'm stuck in this dead-end job, and all those people are having fun out there, and you don't want that. But you want them to feel that it's real, it's alive. Once they feel it's alive, your job is done. And then you have to just tell good stories in it. You know, you've got this living setting, and that's the other thing. You can't just do the setting. You know, I get approached by people all the time, says, I got this great setting, I've been working on it for, like months, and it's really cool. How do I get it published? I said, what do you want to get it published for? Okay, if they have an answer, I need to know that they're going to tell me a story that engages me, that's in that setting. Because it's the story that's going to engage me, not the fact that, hey, you have flying dragons, and you have castles, and you have a sky behind them. Son of a bitch, I've seen that before. Anyway.
Gentlemen in the Aylmore shirt?
I was just asking or wondering about the feedback process. Has there been any talk at Wizards about how they're going to garner feedback from the community and moving around the globe?
Yes.
Will it be
a lot of it is going to be, as far as I understand, and bear in mind, I am not now, never have been an employee of either TSR or Wizards of the Coast, and I can't speak for the company. I can tell you what I saw and heard, and I do think they are going to use online feedback, do this on the website extensively, and yes, I think they're going to be cards in the products, as we've always had, because there's a problem with doing only computerized feedback. You only get feedback from the people who are computerized, meaning urban Canadians and Americans who have access to high speed, and younger kids. The people who pick up a cell phone that's on the street and have it going in 5 seconds they're talking on it. As opposed to the grandparents who go, it's electronic. And then they walk away because they don't know what to do. And remember, Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast. Hasbro does family games. Family games of whatever form tend to be a big honking box you can sell something to somebody to put under the Christmas tree. And what that inevitably means is we would like your parents and grandparents to play the game with you, being as they're going to buy it. Okay? Which means there should be some feedback mechanisms in there that they understand. Oh, no postage necessary if mailed in the United States. Check off this box, this box, this box, I am done. You know, and if the kid is, you know, an avid gamer, take this to Hasbro. They want to hear from us. But, you know, so yeah, there will definitely be electronic because they can analyze those far more quickly. Somebody doesn't have to sit there and input stuff. By the way, one thing that was emphasized, they read all the comments, both posted on forums and boards and that are sent to them. If you write a letter and, you know, suggest that the designer do something creative sexually with, I don't know, a lamppost, it will be read. Okay, bear that in mind. Get out your thesaurus, press them. If there's anything you want to say it. Good and bad, because they want to hear everything. Was the box too heavy? Did you like the color of it? Did it fade when you put it in the sun? Anything that you like and don't like, because they want you to look back on that game 30 years from now and say, that was great. I'm going to get it out and play it with my grandchildren. You know, there are people at Gen Con every year, I know because I'm one of them, who go scouting the booths for back issues of Dragon because they want a copy of Elephant Hunt by Tom Wong. Another new copy, it's Dragon 88, by the way, folks. It's got an elf in the trees on the cover. And they want to pull that game out and laminate it or slide it into one of those cheap blotters that has acetate on the top of cardboard, so they can take it to a library or to their kids and introduce another generation of people to this fun, silly little game that's just fun to play. They want you to have that reaction games. They do not want the edition wars. They want people to find their dog-eared, tattered old books from first edition D&D or the old box sets with the dragon on the cover, and they want you to say, oh, this is a great game. Come on, we got to sit down and play it. They do not want people to say, oh, yeah, third edition, that's when bards suck. So to avoid doing that, and to avoid having what I call game disasters, and game disasters are what used to happen in the old days. I never worked at TSR, but every Gen Con I would arrive 2 or 3 days early and then leave 2 or 3 days after Gen Con, and I would sort of volunteer at the company. This also meant I was out of Canada for more than a week, so my customs allotment went from $30 to $75.
How many bottles was that, Ed?
Nothing. It was like one game and a half. And yes, my second Gen Con I attended, I was driven down there by a Toronto gaming store owner, John Dunn of the Battered Dwarf. We paid $25 each for the gas, so he could use all of our customs allotments, all of us young kids in the car. So he could buy games and bring them back. And there was a waiting list of people for everything. And you know, and everybody walked downhill to work every day. And anyway.
So the distribution system.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, they want you to have a nostalgic reaction to everything, and they want everything to be good. And I would go to TSR every year, and people would run up to me and say, "Can you tell Lorraine this?" And I'd say, "Sure, but you work here. I've been here all year. Why didn't you tell her? Because I'll be fired if I tell her." Oh, okay. Here she comes. And there was like one elevator in the building, because the building only had 2 floors. And it was at the loading dock, and accounting was on the ground floor. And her shortest walk back was on the 2nd floor. So I would be positioned so I could rush forward and get in the elevator with her, which no employee would dare do. And I could say, "Hi, Lorraine. I prefer Flash Gordon to Buck Rogers, but..." And then I would tell her, whatever it is the staff member wanted me to hear. And some of those bad gaming boo-boos that I was referring to were, okay, we got all the components and we ordered the box. The board and the components don't fit in the box. Who's going to tell her? Okay, so we've moved on from that, and that's why Wizards wants your feedback for everything. The new team at Wizards really does think that this is a service industry, meaning you guys vote with your wallets, you guys tell them what to do, they do it. The days of TSR dictating what the hobby will get next in terms of D&D are over. That's how come TSR is not with us anymore. You know, it's what you guys want. So they need to hear from you. Don't be shy about telling them, okay? And tell them the good things as well as the bad things, because they want to do more and more good things and less bad things. And with that said, you can't please everybody. And as you know, from being D&D gamers and knowing about the edition wars, what one guy likes, the next guy hates. But tell them. And if there's any way they can mix and match, well, that's what D&D Next is. They're trying to mix and match what people like from every part of D&D. Retain all the good stuff in a modular way. So you can say, I hate psionics. We don't use psionics. And the next guy says, oh, we love psionics if they'd only do it right. So they're going to do it in a modular way so you can plug and play into your game if you like and leave out what you don't like. Which means it's going to be another 2 years before you see the rules for D&D Next, because they're going to take the time to get the feedback from the playtest, and they're going to keep the playtest rolling until they think they've got where they want to be. And it's going to take as long as it takes. And so you guys are going to get fiction and edition-free, rules-free products for the next little while. Yes, sir.
I was wondering how you were enjoying writing comics.
I love writing comics. I do have to tell you that it looks like the little Forgotten Realms comic I'm writing is a miniseries, and we will do something else. I think Rich Baker is writing it, set in Kalimshan, I think, during Sundering. Because you see, the thing is, I was asked to write comics as a sort of filler until the Sundering happened. Well, the Sundering is happening now and planning, so it looks like what I'm writing is going to, it looks like, and everything is still up in the air, going to be a 5-issue miniseries. And I'm having great fun doing it. Every comic book collaboration, it's like, oh, that artist, I don't like this artist, I do like. It's different for all of us, but the actual collaborative process has been great fun. I love writing comic book scripts. I just sit down and they flow. It's just, I just, I roll around in the Jello with the nude harem girls, and I just love every minute. It doesn't come hard. It doesn't matter if it's 2 in the morning and I have 50 other things on my mind. When I sit down and start writing in a comic book script format, it just flows. It's great. Now, there is a caveat there. Like most beginning comic book writers, I have a tendency to try to squeeze too much dialogue into a panel. And I'm doing this because I'm trying to show you characters who are different from each other. I do not want an entire book full of John Waynes. Yup. Nope. One from a horse. I want some people to be going, oh, and the next person going, you finished? So I don't want everybody to be a terse one-liner guy. Okay, and that problem, plus the necessity of getting subplots rolling in the first few issues, have lots of people being really talking. But of course, I understand not to take myself too seriously, so there's lots of times where people are really talking and the other guy goes, stop talking. So yeah, writing comics is great fun. I look forward to a chance to do it again, to grab some superhero that all of you love and do things.
I'm going to take advantage of my position. First off, did you get a chance to try the Lords of Waterdeep board game?
Yes.
And what did you think?
I loved it.
Okay, good.
So much so that, for those of you who haven't played it, it's a Euro game, okay? You win by outpointing other people. The only combat in the game is you can get in somebody else's way by occupying places in Waterdeep so they can't do things there. But you're not literally fighting each other. you're playing alongside each other. You all play a Lord of Waterdeep. After everybody's played the game 18 times, they will know the victory conditions for each lord. But the first few times you play, you have no idea what the victory conditions are for the other players. So you just try and pursue your own goals. I like the Lords of Waterdeep game enough that I use it in play, not just as a board game. When people are trying to do things politically in Waterdeep, determine which lord prevails, I say, well, let's play a game of Lords of Waterdeep, and the winner, that lord prevails. Rather than, well, we can do playing the diplomacy, and my home players love doing that. Some people who are not my home players, who have not played with me for years, go, what do you mean we have to role play everything? Why can't we just kill the orc and go on? Because it's more fun to talk to the orc before you kill him. Have you just tried this with policemen? Uh-oh.
I'm sure no one will let you back to the authorities.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about this gentleman in the front in gray and then the guy in the black?
Okay, and then there's a gentleman over there.
Oh,
As
yes.
for number 3. Okay, so
Me?
Go ahead, yes.
Just a quick question then about, since you're the creator of the Forgotten Realms. Oh, so glorious. Anyway, my question is that how do you find, and I'm actually specifically referring to your work that you've done with Pathfinder on their setting. Do you find that a little more challenging because it's not, I know technically Forgotten Realms is the property of WotC, but...
okay, yes and no. And the reason I say yes and no, I can think realms. I don't have to stop and think about things. It just, okay, I know where I am.
Right, like you're like more intimately familiar with the realm. So do you find it a lot harder than, or more challenging to work in something like Pathfinder?
Well,
or?
it's also, there's a lot more freedom with Galarian because there's so many empty spaces. There's also, Galarian is interesting because although it has more kingdoms in the realms of different sorts, bits of it are like a quilt with the seams showing. Because you have this kingdom of the undead right next to this kingdom that's aggressive and militaristic, which is right next to this, happy-go-lucky Sherwood Forest type place, which you somehow can't conquer. So the borders are weird, disputed areas, which is cool. I mean, it makes for a lot of adventure things, and it gives your player character something to do. But it's something that when I'm designing for it, I sit down with James Sutter, who's the fiction editor, and I said, James, it's really weird about this border. And he goes, well, yeah, we were hoping you'd paper that over. Now, one of the things you have to realize if you want to write for Pathfinder is everything's a collaborative process in the office there. So if I say to James, I think I'd like to put a pink lesbian upside down clown in this next scene. He'd say, that sounds great, Ed. Let me go to Eric and check it out with him. And Eric goes, that sounds like Ed. He says, why don't we pass it around to all the designers and they'll all put their 2 cents, and that's what they do with everything, okay? So, about the camel being the horse designed by the committee? The potential for that is there. You'd say, I've got this great idea, we'll do this. And by the time it gets around there, it's now purple elephants, not pink clouds. No, because it's made the rounds. This is good for their point of view because they can make sure that everything is consistent. Because they can see in front of them the train wrecks that happen when things aren't consistent. As a creator who's used to doing his own thing, hi, I'm Mr. Realms, I'll just write this thing, okay? It's like, oh, okay, so now you're all going to talk about it. Okay. Could you get back to me, I don't know, this year? Because I know how long that takes. Because, strangely enough, deadlines are an imminent, threatening thing when you're not writing fast enough, but deadlines are not an imminent, frightening thing when they're going, oh, I haven't talked to so-and-so about it yet. He's on vacation for the next 3 weeks. Well, you realize that leaves me 2 days to write it. Yeah, we're taking that into allowance. Until midnight on the 3rd day. So, but it's more of a challenge because I have to think and plan and negotiate and check things out with other people because it's not my baby. But no, it's actually more fun because there's more freedom because I'm in at the beginning of a world that's going in all directions. it's, galloping madly off in all directions at once. My job, choose which saddles to put my feet on so I don't suffer groin pulls. But yeah, no, it's fun. Okay, number 2.
The Realms is your home campaign,
Mhm.
but it's also a property that has a lot of designers, and now it's going to be basically crowdsourced, it sounds like. So
Mhm.
I'm curious as to what it feels like as the DM when a new supplement comes out and all of a sudden they've changed something about the Realms. How do you deal with that in your home Realms campaign? You just keep going the way you have been going, or do you try and take into account new shifts in the grander system?
The Home Realms campaign is this lovely thing we call a democracy. All my players and I vote on everything. As DM, I have 2 votes. All of them have 1 vote, but they still outnumber me. Well, they decide what they want. We're still at 2nd edition because they decided that's where they wanted to stay. They vote. I'm wasting 3 or 4 hours of their lives every time we get together. My job as the DM is to entertain them. So it's what they want. I've been doing this long before Watsy got around to it. It's like, okay, it's the realms that you get to play in will be the realms you want. So it so happens that my players are not hack and slashers. They've outgrown that. They're intriguers. So for 4 hours, we may roll the dice maybe 4 times. Total. They're spending all their time walking around talking to people, slyly manipulating people, and seeing to their day jobs and their investments. Because that's what they want to do. And they decided we'd move from 1st edition to 2nd edition, mainly because the guy who was playing the bard got better rules as far as he was concerned in 2nd edition. So let's move. Okay. He managed to sway the vote, so there's where we are. So each new thing that happens, like all old school gamers, they buy everything. Okay? Everything that comes out for the realms. They no longer buy everything that comes out for the hobby. You used to be able to do that without being a billionaire and having a large staff of buyers. Some of them on the internet because some of it's e-only and stuff like that, or special exclusives, or scratch my bum at Gen Con and you'll get the only copy. I could never understand that. It's like, aren't you trying to sell the maximum number of things to the maximum number of people? But some people seem to think that gamers should divide it into the elite, inner circle, and the somewhat unwashed and the really unwashed. So they make things exclusive. And so it's now really hard to buy everything. But they buy everything for the realms, and therefore they sit down and read them too. Because that's the other thing that I keep trying to impress on TSR and WotC. I think I've finally gotten home with WotC. There's a huge segment of their clientele, somewhere around 20%, that's a big amount, who do not play the games. They read the game stuff as if it was fiction. They love the appendices at the end of Return of the King as world stuff. And they just sit down in an armchair and curl up on the couch and read the stuff as news from this world. They love the Vogels guys. Okay, they didn't love them completely because they were pissed off that we had an unreliable narrator because they want the real goods. But they want the world. And yeah, so all of my players read all the stuff. So when something comes out, if they don't like it, they say so, and they sort of forcibly come forward to a vote. I want to vote on this. This Byers guy, what he's doing to Thay, I don't like that. I said, well, we're not there yet. We're like 70 years back in the past. Oh, okay, so we don't have to vote on it yet. We'll vote on it in 70 years. But yeah, that's how we handle everything. So it doesn't come up. It's what my players want. They decide for me. I don't worry about it. Now, with that said, boy, am I trying to steer things that are published. So it feels like the realms to me. That's the whole point from my point of view. And luckily for this latest iteration of the realms, that's what Bob Salvatore very bluntly said to them. Get back to Ed's vision for the realms. If it doesn't feel like the realms, it's probably because it's not what Ed would have done. Ask Ed. He walks, he talks, you know where he lives. He's got the goddamn phone. And they do. In this last 2 weeks, I've been to 3 conventions. OSR Con, Gen Con, here. I got back from Gen Con 2 days before Fan Expo started, threw all the clothes in the washing machine so I'd have something to wear here. Because, Toronto seems to be so tight about people walking around naked unless they're wearing costumes.
Are you at the same con we are?
Well, I don't have any cute costumes. The only costume I have is, overweight, hairy old fart. And,
a whole bunch of them here.
So, and I threw all my clothes in the washing machine. And then I said, I better check my emails. Flip on the computer, log in. Oh, 2,000 emails from Wizards Coast. Asking me about everything. Which is great. I love it. They're finally asking me about everything. Yes! I've died and gone to heaven. It's Christmas every day. Hello, Santa. Santa from Canada. So yeah, that's how I take care of things being different. And there are things that they've read, particularly in novels. They say, this is cool. Can we go there? So, and okay, fine. We're going there, and I'm going to make it feel like that novel. Because that's what you thought was cool.
The Forgotten Realms world is obviously vastly rich. It has 20 layers of depth to a lot of things. And similarly, the White Wolf's Old World of Darkness is like that as well. I love things like that. But really, as far as role-playing games are concerned, in my view anyways, they're meant to act as a place in which to tell the stories that the characters are going to experience. So where do you draw the line between giving the details and leaving room for dungeon masters to come up with the stories that they're going to tell?
That's something we have gone back and forth on for 30 years. Here's my take on it. I have the temerity, or rather the company, the publisher, have the temerity to charge you money for something. Gaming, really. I better damn well do the work. Because what I'm really selling you is time. You didn't have to sit down and detail that village. Here, I've done it for you. Okay? And if I'm not limited by my time of writing, my deadlines, and usually by word count, and in these electronic days, word count means less and less. We can take all the stuff that wouldn't fit, all our web enhancement, toss it to you, So I better damn well detail it down to the last rusty chamber pot. You don't need to use that level of detail. A lot of DMs don't like that level of detail. But if I'm selling you something, it should be there. You can ignore it if you like. But that, I would rather sell you a car that's got all the bells and whistles, like, I don't know, a steering wheel, rather than say, there's your car. You say, that's a rust. What'd you do? Do this from a canoe? It's just a shell. Oh, you want wheels with that? That'll be extra. A transmission. You want a transmission? And an engine? God, you're demanding. You want mirrors? Shit, what is this, like a floating pleasure palace on wheels? Just get a few friends to push. Now, you can take less level of detail in your own games. And the thing about the realms being vast is there really is a lot of room there. People think, oh my God, it's been detailed down to the nines. No, it hasn't. Just look at Cormyr, just to take a kingdom we pile through a lot, but I've never done a source book on. Okay, I know the royal lineage of Cormyr. It's been written out in detail. It's almost 300,000 words long. It goes through the history of all the kings and it has tons of adventure books, and it's never been published. Because some of the people who were designers of the company says, what are you going to give them that level of detail for? That'll stifle everything. No, it won't. It doesn't stifle anything. Any DM who reads through that is going to be going, because there's all these tombs and lost princes and bastards over here and so on. I can build off of that. But my take is I should give you the infinite level of detail, bury you in detail to see what can be done, and then you take from it what you want. With that said, we have to present it in a way that the dungeon master picking it up and opening it doesn't feel like they're being confined and railroaded. It should look like a tapestry. And rather than one plot, one line of plot, you must do this. We want you to feel that things go in all directions. okay? And you can take them in all directions. And by the way, that's something that we're pursuing in the adventures you'll see in the months to come, particularly next year. Both Bob and I were asked to work on adventures. And what we're doing is giving you mini campaigns with all sorts of adventure hooks and ideas. You, the DM, and you, the players, determine which one dominates, rather than saying, first you got to go here, then you got to fight the king, then you end up in the dungeon, and then we have the, no way, we don't want to do that at all. But oh no, I want to give you guys loads of detail. I want you to have Harper pins. I want you to know what underwear the Zentran wear, because dollars to donuts. When you kill the Zentran guard, you're going to strip the body for all the stuff, like, a pass key, maybe the thing you have to show to get further into the Citadel. Well, if I haven't done my work, it says, okay, we stripped the body, what do you see? Well, a naked guard. No, but what do his clothes look like? Can I put them on as a disguise? How do they go on? Oh, well, they're tidy whities, so they won't fit you. The Dungeon Master shouldn't have to be ad-libbing that at the table. It should all be done for him. If he wants to ignore it and do his own thing, that's cool. But if I'm charging you money for a game product, it should all be there. Oh my God, they detailed his tidy whities.
That was actually a time warning to discuss.
Oh, yes.
Does anyone have any yes or no questions? Just want to ask that. Just a quick.
Are you a wizard?
Turn him to a frog.
The answer is between the cheeks.
Nice.
No, I am not a wizard.
Yes, you are.
I'm an overweight guy just a normal guy who is in the right place at the wrong time, or the wrong place at the right time. And now I have this huge published work. Can I fake being a wizard? Hell yeah, if politicians could do it on TV. I'm better than all of them. Oh, I know exactly, everything's under control. I know exactly what I'm doing. Bullshit.
I want to ask one small question.
Sure.
Is there a section of the realms that you think has never been adequately paid attention to?
About 40 sections of the realm.
But for the top one, right at the top of your head, which one do you think, man, we really need to fill that out? It'll add so much to the play experience of all the players.
Oh, again, I can't do one. Okay. Let me say that the key ones. If you're playing in the Heartlands, from Waterdeep to the Dales,
Yeah.
okay, you've got the wealthy places. Sembia, the land of fat, rich merchants. United States of America. Okay, okay, you've got these places, these jigsaw puzzle pieces that are missing, and they're all the places that are full of wealth and bustling people and commerce, and we've never detailed. That's just like America. Well, that's the point. Why don't you detail it? Are you bored by your own country? I don't think so. I see all this stuff. How about Paul Revere and so on. You can do it for Sembia too, Oh, but we don't have time. You're right, you don't have time, but you should. So all of those sort of things. And then we haven't done anything and dwelt on it that isn't pseudo-European centric.
Yeah.
Okay? I have parts of the realms that have all sorts of different cultures, with people with all sorts of different skin colors, all sorts of different customs, fashions, the way that they regard the family unit in marriage. And all of that gets plastered over. Oh, no, we want the American family unit here, and white people, and the babes all have to look like, wow, and all put clothes on. And the guys all have to either be slimy sneak thieves, or big, strong, plundering type, or just normal Joes. And we'll ignore the just normal Joes. They're the rabble of shopkeepers. I think, excuse me, that rabble of shopkeepers is the vital line that's keeping the pumping engine. That rabble of shopkeepers is bringing the trade flows, and therefore allowing adventurers to move freely around without the local ruler saying, I don't recall giving you a permit to be an adventurer. Where the hell did you get that sword? So all of the stuff like that. I want the exotic places developed. I want every puzzle piece on the map we haven't covered. And I want stuff that isn't the core comfortable to American executives ethos covered. I want it all there, so you can say, oh, cool. I've always wanted to crash my flying car to the guy next to me. And here's the rules. Anyway.
All right. You, and then we're probably going to have to head out. So red shirt and ears. Red shirt, go.
Okay.
It's not such a question as it is just a statement. I just want to say for all the work you've done throughout your whole life, it's inspired. It's been this magical place to go adventuring for all these years. I just really, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you.
Well,
We'll applaud later.
thank you guys.
With the popularity of so much fantasy movies, TV, that kind of stuff out there, do you ever think we'll see a good D&D based movie series that
Yes.
I'd love to see a Forgotten.
I may
on
be
that
in a
whole
wheelchair
series.
by then. Okay.
All I'm saying is, you talk to this guy for 5 minutes, he will tell you stories that would make George Martin's blood run cold.
Yeah. I did attend years ago a dinner here in Toronto, okay, with people from Fireworks Television, no longer exists, Global used to own it then, and they were going to do Forgotten Realms. So Jeff Grubb and his wife Kate and I and Bob and his wife Diane sat in on this dinner with this very excited lady who was like 4 feet tall and wearing a power pantsuit, told us what she was going to do with the realms. And what it sounded like they really wanted was the Borgias with Drow. Everybody black, no clothes, so beefcake as well as cheesecake in 20 years, being nasty to each other underground because you can do two cave sets to take care of it, you know. And we all went, it could be good, could be great, but I want people to see out windows and to see there's a whole world out there. I cannot say anything about the current plans that are afoot for something media related, live action as opposed to just merely computer game licenses to do with the realms. And we all know that there are 5 million little baby steps to take on the road from, oh, we love you, we want to do this, we'll take you to Hollywood, make you a star. Which was said to me at Gen Con by a British guy who's so delightfully gay, I would actually have let him do it. But he's just, I'm just going to wrap.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Tell them all to wait. We're talking about Hollywood.
Bar the door!
But they have plans. But there are so many steps down the road before you see it. But both Bob and I are determined that although we will inevitably have no artistic control, you will not see a pile of turds on the screen. It will be... It will at least be clever. Okay, you'll have one-liners you can use. You know, and George Martin's success has made it possible for all of them. Oh my God, you can have subplots. You can have too many characters to keep track of. And therefore, you can get these cool lines. I work with librarians who do not watch fantasy stuff, and they still say, "What do we say to the god of death?" Not today. And when somebody's got an overdue book and they want to renew it, what do we say to the god of death? And I think, wow, they got something. Okay, so I want stuff like that.
All right.
Very good.